All right, let's get started. Jordy, how's it going? Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yeah, I can hear you too.
Sweet.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I have a bunch of dialogue boxes. I gotta get out of the way here.
All righty.
Okay, there we go. I can see you.
Let's see. Your screen just shows black, just black.
There we go.
Oh, oh, there we go. Hey, what's up, man?
How's it going? Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too. Yeah, this is gonna be fun. First time meeting a lot of people who may have been participating virtually. And we've got Sunny. Hi, Sunny.
Hey, Chris.
How's it going?
Good. Great to meet you. We watched
Great to
your
meet you
videos for
too.
a while. I love them.
Awesome. Thanks, man. So where's everybody joining from?
I'm from Michigan.
Sorry, Jordy, where did you say?
Michigan.
Michigan and Sunny?
Yep.
Boston.
Boston.
Yeah.
I was just in Boston, what, 3 weeks ago? Yeah.
Ah, nice.
My Russian friend up there, it's his birthday, and there's like a big group of people. It's actually south of Boston. Where was it? Yeah, South Boston somewhere. And yeah, a bunch of Russians. So cool. So why do you guys watch the channel, and like what would you like to do today on this call?
Я хотел просто практиковаться с вами.
Отлично. Джорди, ты тоже говоришь по-русски немного?
A little bit. I'm still in my first I'd say year of serious study, so I'm still kind of shy about talking, but I'm hoping to get over that. It's kind of why I wanted to talk to you a little bit and see how I can advance forward and
Sweet.
get some questions answered. I'm thinking some kvass here.
Hey, I also got my kvass.
Oh, sweet. Cool, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Cool. So yeah, so Jordy, tell us a little bit then, like you said, it's your first year. So like tell us, I guess, about your Russian journey, like your
When I get my notebook, guys, I'll be right back.
Okay.
I am learning through Babbel currently, and it's been pretty good. Like I said, I'm still a little bit shy. I need to speak more with more people. That's my problem, is I don't have a lot of Russian friends or a lot of people to talk to, but I have a lot of motivation, I feel like. So,
Awesome.
and yeah, so far that's been about it. I'm a pretty determined guy, and yeah, I want to keep moving on with it.
Gotcha. So what was like your motivation to start?
Really, just wanted to learn a new language and have like a brain exercise, and I wanted to learn something that wasn't the Latin alphabet, really. Something kind of crazy like Chinese, or we decided to pick Russian, me and my wife.
Oh, you're doing it together.
Yep. So
Nice.
it's been pretty fun. We're just kind of sitting on Babbel. We're writing every single thing down too, and kind of reviewing together and everything we can do possibly together. So
Sweet.
yeah.
And have you studied or learned any other languages before this?
My wife has. She's studied a lot of Spanish and a little bit of French, so she kind of knows some of the odd grammar that Russian is throwing at us.
Nice.
It's really cool to have her view on it. Yeah, it's been
awesome. Awesome. And Sunny, what about you? What's your Russian language journey looked like?
It was like locked down in COVID in Boston, which was just really harsh. And I needed a hobby, so I was reading like a whole bunch of World War II books. And I was like, I've read enough World War II books. I need to do something. So I was like, maybe I'll study a language. So because I was reading about Stalin all the time, and I read about how we learned how to speak Russian, like in the mountains without any internet, I was like, I could probably do that.
Cool.
Then I started studying, and then I was so damn sick of COVID, I just needed to change. And I was thinking of going to like Texas or something, but that's just too expensive. So I went to Moscow. So I was there for 2 months, and then the war came. So I was like, I gotta get out of here. So then I went to Kyrgyzstan. I was in Kyrgyzstan for a while. Then I went to Armenia
Armenia, you said?
and Georgia. Yeah, yeah. Just because I planned to travel for like 6 months to a year, but then I didn't want to stay in Russia because I was just worried that I could get stuck there or something.
Yeah.
So I just kept going to other Russian-speaking countries. And after 4 months, I came home. But if the war didn't happen, I'd probably still be there now.
Gotcha. So you met all the Russian diaspora and all the satellite countries.
Yeah, yeah. And I went before too. I met a bunch of people on Hello Talk,
Okay.
and so I went to visit my buddy in Balashika,
Where?
just outside of Moscow. Balashika,
Uh-huh.
a suburb of Moscow, basically. But
Uh,
yeah, I've just been having a great time with it, and definitely want to get back out there or get to Ukraine or get to Belarus whenever I can.
Sweet.
And also, I started a YouTube channel where I just kind of walk around and just speak in Russian, and I just got monetized last week.
High five.
Thank you.
That's awesome, guys. Well, yeah, it's really cool to hear like why people are studying Russian and how you started. And I don't know if you guys know my story. I'll just share quickly. Like, when was it? I guess it was 2008. I met a bunch of Russians when I was living in Newport, Rhode Island. And yeah, I was finishing a master's degree in international relations, and the Russians that I met were like, "Hey, you should come to Russia." I mean, they were inviting like every American person they met. They're like, "Come to Russia," and I was just the one guy who did. And so I went there for like 3 months, and I went to Moscow, Yekaterinburg, and Ufa. And I really liked Yekaterinburg because it wasn't as big and crazy as Moscow. Like, I don't know how you guys feel about New York City, but to me, it's just like too big, too crazy,
Oh
too.
yeah, I don't like New York City.
So like Moscow's kind of like that. So like that's why it wasn't really for me. But then Ufa was kind of small, more provincial. So Yekaterinburg, it's the third or fourth, depending on which year the population changes, but third or fourth biggest city. And it's the capital of the Ural region, the Urals. And so yeah, so like I spent most of the time there, and then I found a job teaching English there, and worked there for like a year and a half. Then I opened a language school in Yekaterinburg, and we had that from like 2011 till 2016, or no, till 2019, and then closed it right before COVID because I had moved it online. And yeah, at one point I even opened like a little cafe, like a hookah bar in
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's my experience. Now, also the girl who was my girlfriend, who I opened that language school with, we ended up getting married like 5 years after dating for 5 years, getting married there, and then we moved back to the States. Now I live in Florida. I'm in Tampa, and so my wife is Russian. My daughter, who's 3 years old, speaks English and Russian. Like, I was just on the phone with them before. I was like, "Are you gonna come on the call? You should show your face." I was like, "You can just show everybody what it looks like to for a Russian mom to be screaming at their kid on the playground. Go ahead." So I'm not Russian. I just want to clear that up for everybody. Like, I'm not Russian. When I speak Russian, I speak with an accent. I'm still learning Russian. I just lived in Russia for 8 years, and like I learned Russian mostly by just going out with Russian people, like
That's
going,
how I learned too.
yeah, like really hanging out with people, going to their house and going to parties and going to, just walking around with people, meeting people, and doing stuff like that. And it was a lot of fun. But like, yeah, there's a lot of pluses and minuses, right? Just like everywhere.
Yeah.
So I see Yana is writing in the chat, Slava Ukraine. So Geroyam Slava. That's what we're supposed to answer, I think. So thanks for watching, Yana, and thanks for watching everybody who's on YouTube. Cool. So like, I don't know, Sunny, since you раз ты уже начал со мной говорить на русском, что для тебя было сложно, когда ты только начинал изучать русский язык?
Ну, я могу объяснить по-английски, чтобы Джорди можно как follow проходить,
Следовать?
следовать наш разговор.
Ага, давай.
Yeah, so I think the nice thing about studying Russian is there's just this huge amount of content online. So Jordy, the way I started, I've been studying for like 2.5 years now. The way I started was I just did Duolingo for like 3 months. I got to the point where I could have like a very basic conversation. Oh, he's gone. Is he still here?
I mean, maybe he'll come back, or maybe he had to go. I'm not sure.
Окей, ну давай, мы можем говорить. Да, но я увидел твое видео. Я увидел видео, которое ты объяснил, в других городах, Краснодар, Уфа и так далее. А я сказал, вот это так круто, я тоже хочу быть учителем в России. Я даже думал, может быть, я могу работать с этим человеком. Но я решил просто сам поехать. Не хотел работать учителем, потому что, как я сказал, я был в карантин, ужасный карантин за почти 2 года. Я решил просто исследовать через Россию. И из-за войны все изменилось. Но я хочу жить, как ты. Я хочу русскую жену, я хочу приключений в России и так далее.
Надо
Просто
быть осторожным.
жал войны, да.
Ага. То есть ты планируешь вернуться туда, ну, не именно в Россию, но где-то, куда-то, где будет большинство русскоговорящих людей. Ты хочешь туда вернуться когда? После войны? Или...
Ну да, может быть, после войны, может быть, в Украине, может быть, в Беларуси. Просто, там менталитет более похожий, что у меня. Как ты, наверное, заметил, да, русские девушки, они более традиционные, они нравится быть женщинам по-другому. Но ты объяснил много твои видео. Ты знаешь, о чем я говорю. Не надо объяснить.
Думаю, да, но каждый видит это по-другому. Есть люди, которые не согласны с тем, что я объясняю на видео. Конечно, кому как. Знаешь это выражение?
Кому как, это для чего, для кому, да?
Это как в английском to each his own.
Да.
Кому как. I guess for a lot of the people who are watching, they might not also understand Russian, but so I'll switch back and forth. But yeah, for me, some of the phrases in Russian are really interesting with the way that you can express so much with words.
I love it.
Right? And so those like the pronouns are really interesting because, like this phrase, kому как, you're basically, it's 2 words, but in English we have this long phrase, and it just really shows how a language with grammatical cases can communicate a lot of meaning without a lot of words.
Oh yeah.
So that's one of my favorite things about English does the same thing with helping verbs.
Yeah.
You can repeat a lot of information, like, hey Chris, are you going to come to the party? I can't, but I might. I will, but so like you don't have to repeat the same phrase. You can just use the helping verb to repeat everything. So
do you notice if you have Russian friends that are like new immigrants, I'm sure your wife probably had a similar experience if her English wasn't that great when she first arrived, but they'll accidentally speak English in kind of a rude way, and they don't understand why they're offending people, but it's because they say everything very like short and concise. Like I was
Yeah.
explaining to my friend, like if I have my phone and I'm like climbing up a ladder or something, so I want Chris to like hold my phone. In English, I'll be like, "Hey, Chris, can you please hold this?" Whereas in Russian, it's totally acceptable to just go "держи." But in English, if we just say hold, it's like pretty harsh.
Well, you know, my first experience with this, exactly this example that you gave, is the opposite. I was in Rhode Island in Newport, and I'm walking down the street with my Russian friend who at that point I didn't know any Russian, and he was, you know, he'd been living in the States for like 3 months. So I walking down the street through this little city, and there's someone handing out flyers.
Yeah.
And the person comes up to us and goes, "Here." And my Russian friend was like, "That's so strange. That's kind of rude, don't you think? Like in Russian, we would no one would ever say здесь." And and so yeah, so like I first saw this example the other way around.
Наоборот, да?
Yeah, наоборот. But you know the other way that you can say it in Russian, right? Like you don't have to say держи. You can also say
I would say "держите, пожалуйста."
you can also say na.
Oh, I didn't know that one.
Nah. It's going to be even less like even less formal than держи.
Yeah.
And like a lot of times in like people who are friends, family, like people will say that. They'll say na, and it means here, take this.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Is that a сокращение? Is that?
Сокращение? No, it's just the word na, like on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean,
Not
anybody,
like "на руке"?
you know, that's a good question.
Hmm.
Like I always want to qualify my answers with like,
Yeah, maybe.
I don't think that I'm always the most qualified person to answer. I'm just sharing my own experience. But so like if there's any Russians who are watching, okay, Nikolay, who I work with, he's watching. He just didn't join us. He's in the comments. He says na держи. Yeah. So, but yeah, if anyone wants to correct me, I'm sure they will. Oh, someone in the comments also says, what about вот? Right? Because вот also means like here, right?
Oh, are we getting comments on YouTube right now?
Yeah, I'm trying to follow along there too.
Oh, okay. I was just looking to zoom in. All right.
Yeah, so what could be another way to say here, right? And but it's not here in the meaning like take this, like in English.
Yeah.
What could be like here, like it's kind of more like there. Like after you say something, you can say вот. Like я раньше жил в России, а сейчас я живу в США. Вот.
Yeah,
Like,
I love
the
it.
end of my sentence.
It cuts
There it is.
so well. Like you don't have the problem as much as people talking over each other. And I almost wish we had a vote in English.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? But so it's funny how yeah, when I started teaching English to Russians in Russia, then it was funny to me how like Russians would try, like they would feel really awkward at the end of the sentence because they didn't have a вот to add. And so like they'd say something, and then it would just be silent, but they didn't like end the sentence, right? And so they would just like look at you. They just give you like a stare at you, like the sentence is finished, but just stare at you, like because in Russian you could just use this word вот and like close the expression. Let's see. Oh, cool. Tanya is also joining us. Tanya, Nikolay, come join us live. Here's the link. These are two people who work in our like together with us in our company, so it'll be great to join.
Can I ask how old you are, Chris? You have a young face, but you've done all this stuff. I feel like you're older than I think you are.
I'm 36.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I thought you were a lot younger. When I saw you, then I heard your story, and I was like, oh, this guy's got too much done to be 25.
Uh-huh. Let's see. Pasha is writing us too. Pasha, Tanya, Nikolay, come on, join us live. I sent you the link. We got to get the Russians in here.
Sorry, my power went out on my internet, and my internet went out. Sorry.
No problem.
I left for a second.
No
It's
problem.
really windy. It's really windy here in Michigan, so it might go out again.
I was going to tell you one thing that always makes me laugh is when I hear Russians pronounce the words Chicago and Michigan, because in English they have the French sh sound for ch, but when people speak Russian, it's Michigan, and it's Chicago.
A lot of people say Chicago too.
Всем привет.
Tanya, привет.
Только я прошу прощения, я в Икее.
Vikeo.
Да. Я
Tanya's in
немножко
IKEA right now.
Да. Я шопинг небольшой у меня для новой квартиры.
Uh-huh. So Tanya, let's see who else is tell the news on YouTube. Yeah, you could join us live. Anybody who's watching, I sent the link, you can join us live. Tanya is from Yekaterinburg. We met there. We worked together in that language school that I was telling you about. And now Tanya lives in Portugal.
Yeah, in Lisbon. Lisbon.
In Russian, it's what? Lisabon?
Лиссабон. 2S.
Ага. Лиссабон.
Мгм.
Таня живет в Лиссабоне.
Да, верно.
Cool. So let's see. In the comments on YouTube, someone also wrote the phrase "Да нет, наверное." And I think that this is a good one to explain and to talk about because, even a lot of Russian people who I meet, they think that it means something different than what it really means. So I guess this is just a good thing for everyone who's studying Russian still to think about, to learn, because it was something interesting for me to learn when I learned it. The word da, I mean, when you first start, you just think that it means yes, but it has a second meaning, which is like and. And so someone could ask you a question and you could answer them like, "Да я не знаю."
Да.
And it doesn't mean yes, I don't know. It means and I don't know, or like so I don't know, or well, I don't know. And so the phrase "Да нет, наверное," it doesn't actually, a lot of times Russian people present this phrase and say that it means yes, no, maybe. And so it would be very funny if it's yes, no, maybe. But this phrase actually means something like, well, maybe not, or well, probably not. So it usually means more of a no than a yes. This made me like when I remember my first time going to Russia, I didn't speak Russian when I first got there. And I went to the supermarket with my friend, and the woman asks if he wants a bag. If he wants a bag for his groceries. And by the way, usually in Russia, you have to pay a few rubles extra for the bag. And so Sunny, if you I think you haven't been to Russia yet, right? Or
No, I've been to Russia.
Oh, sorry, not Sunny, Jordy.
No, I have not.
So you go to a supermarket, and after you check out all the groceries, and then they'll say "Paket нужен," or so paket is the word for bag, a grocery store bag, like a plastic bag. Paket. And paket нужен. And so my friend answered this question, "Да нет." And so for me in the beginning, it was really like he said yes, no. And so this was really confusing for me. It took me a long time before someone explained to me that da also means like well or and. So yeah. Nikolay, привет.
Привет.
Да, привет. Мгм.
Николай, ты где сейчас находишься?
Непосредственно в Москве.
Рядом с Москвой?
В Москве.
В Москве.
Мгм.
И до слова Москва ты сказал
Непосредственно.
непосредственно.
Именно в Москве.
Непосредственно.
Exactly.
Uh-huh. So we have Nikolay. Nikolay's in Moscow right now. And it looks like from YouTube, maybe one or two other people are going to join us. Cool. So, Tanya, what about you? When you meet foreign people,
Мгм.
what do you, oh, Pasha
О, Паша, привет.
and Zhenya. Pasha and Zhenya, you're together.
Екатеринбург снова вместе.
Да, Паша, ты сейчас в Екатеринбурге? Мы тебя не слышим.
Паша,
Нет, не совсем. Это сейчас Екатеринбург приехал в Алматы.
So Pasha and Zhenya are right now in Almaty in Kazakhstan. But these are two of my friends from Yekaterinburg.
Большинство из ваших друзья из Екатеринбурга, да?
Да, потому что я там жил 8 лет.
Мгм.
Most of my friends are from Yekaterinburg because I lived there for 8 years.
Но как долго ты был в других городах? Мне кажется, ты был везде в России, да?
Только переездом.
Hi, this is Tell the News. Veronica.
Hi, Veronica.
Hi, how are you? Здравствуйте.
привет.
I'm doing the audio for the first time ever.
Welcome.
Здравствуйте. Добро пожаловать.
So, Veronica, where are you from?
I'm from Philly.
Uh-huh.
Hey, how are you?
You're from Philly?
I'm a little shy here.
No problem. You're from Philly. And what else did you say?
Yeah, I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
I'm from the hood.
From the hood. Okay. Она из гетто, говорит.
What did you say? Can you repeat that?
I tried to translate what you said, that you're from the hood.
Oh, I'm from the city.
So yeah, how did you find us? How did you start learning Russian?
I started speaking Russian over 10 years ago, and then I stopped, and then I just restarted again during the pandemic.
Okay. So what inspired you to start learning Russian?
Я хотела говорить по-русски, потому что мне хочется узнать побольше об этом языке. I want to know more about the language.
Классно. Well, you're in the right place, I think, because we have people here who can help us.
Yeah, but my Russian is really bad. I'm trying to get it back.
Да нет.
And I want to go to Russia.
Yeah, where do you want to go?
Я хочу поехать в Москву, или в Москву, или Санкт-Петербург.
Ага.
Не знаю
Питер.
точно.
Лучше в Питер.
Uh-huh. Tanya thinks it's better to go to St. Petersburg.
Say that again.
Tanya, еще
I
раз
think it's,
скажи.
yeah. In Russian.
Yeah.
Лучше в Питер.
The volume is so bad, Ryan. I can't get the volume up.
So yeah, thanks Veronica for joining us. I'm gonna go ahead and just turn everybody's mics off, but you can turn it back on whenever you're ready to talk, just so that we get rid of background noise, because there's so many people now who are with us, right? Great. So, oh yeah, I was just going to say one thing. For example, the city, St. Petersburg, Russia, usually Russian people call it Peter, right, for short. And so Tanya said, Luchev Peter, better to St. Petersburg, right? And that's another cool thing about Russian is that in the present tense, a lot of times people will use the word to without a verb, right? Like if I said "Я в Питере," I am in St. Petersburg, but if I said "Я в Питер," this will mean that I am going to St. Petersburg, but I didn't say a verb. There was no verb in the sentence, right? "Я в Питер." And this can be really confusing to like figure out what the verb was supposed to be, but because we used the, this case of the word Peter, and the word v, then it shows movement, and because it shows movement, everybody understands that the verb is go. And so a lot of times people will use this also with like the verb want. For example, "Я хочу в Питер." I want to St. Petersburg. So we skipped the word go, basically, right? Everybody understood the word go. So yeah.
I like how in Russian too, you can just say about something. You say pro деньгах, да? Instead in English, we say, I'm talking about money. But in Russian, just pro деньгах.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, native Russian speakers who are here, but I think you need to use this case when you use o.
Oh, yeah. O and pro, I always get confused.
And with pro, I think we use accusative, like pro деньги, but о деньгах. Am I wrong? Am I wrong, Russian friends?
Именно так.
А?
Правильно.
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 Ага.
О
Да, всё
деньгах,
правильно.
про деньги, да?
Еще раз?
О деньгах, про деньги, да?
Ага. Деньги on the first syllable. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, let's keep going. Any questions you guys want to throw out there? Veronica, Sunny, Jordy, like feel free. And
I got another one.
okay.
This has been really hard for me to kind of put my thumb on exactly what the difference is, but I noticed that Russians use adverbs in a very different way than we do.
Yes.
Like ты хорошо выглядишь is like it's you are looking good, right? But we usually say in English, you look good. So good is modifying you, but in Russian, хорошо is modifying выглядит, да?
Yes. Or like the same example, like if we say you are beautiful, you can so like how someone asks how are you, and you can say хорошо, you can say плохо, you can say отлично, and you're using an adverb.
Yeah, I don't understand why you don't say like I say
Хороший.
Yeah.
Right. Why isn't it я хороший, я плохой, я отличный? Because in English you use an adjective, right? Yeah. So I think that this is because of the what's it called? So I think in linguistics it's called deixis. Funny word. This term. So basically there's no, like, if you think about a sentence, there's like subject, verb, object, and there's some meaning that's past. So if you think about it like in math, it's like a plus or a minus, but it with some verbs like to become, to be, to feel, to look like, then or sorry, to look with an adjective about the thing, then it's more like an equal sign. So there's no change. It's saying that this quality is actually a part of this subject of the person. And so I believe in this case in Russian, in this situation in Russian, that's when you're supposed to use an adverb, whereas in English we would use an adjective. I think that explains it. But Pasha is like, sometimes I'll come up with a language theory, and Pasha will tell me, no, Chris, here's a better rule. And like, so Pasha, maybe you have something. Do you know why? You've probably thought about this too, right?
No, I haven't. Well, it sounds legit what you just explained, but from the Russian-speaking perspective, when you ask how are you, it's actually like как ты. По-русски мы спросим как ты, как дела, and if it's как, how, then you should use the adverb, right? So what's the problem here?
True. So yeah, that's a good point.
Это типа как все идет, а не как ты, но как твои дела идет, да?
Если ты спрашиваешь как, то нужно отвечать наречием. Хорошо, плохо и так далее.
Yeah. So, sorry, Veronica, did you want to jump in there? Or who's administrator? That's Pasha. Oh, never mind. So, yeah, so this brings me to another funny story. Well, I think it's funny. You might, hopefully it'll be useful. It brings me to another story that when I first got to Russia, I was asking my friend, like, well, how do I know if something is masculine or feminine, right? And so like the table is masculine. So like I look under the table and I'm like, I don't see that it's masculine, you know? But so then he looks at me, he's like, oh, Chris, in Russian, it's really easy. You just ask a question. You just say, on mой, она моя. And he said, this is how you know. And then I was like, but you have to already know, like for this to work, you have to already know if it's masculine or feminine, right? And he was like, no, this is how we know. You just say, stol, on мой.
Все просто.
Yeah.
Это
And
правда, так и есть.
you learned it like this too, Tanya?
Да, я всегда задавала вопрос, если я не знала, какой род.
Uh-huh.
Стол, он мой.
Yeah. So there's also a similar kind of game with question words. So like, you know, as a foreigner, as learning Russian as a second language or a foreign language, we learn like the names of the cases, like nominative, genitive, accusative, and then we remember how they change, right? And so for natives, when they learned it a different way. They learned it like, what is it? Like, Chivokovo.
Yeah.
I've
had so many people explain it that way, and I'm like, that doesn't help.
Кому чему, о ком о чем.
Right. So like they learned that these are the question words that you ask in order for the word to change like this, basically, right? And so like it's a different way of thinking about it, right? And if you think about English, we do the same thing. Like there's a bunch of stuff where we just kind of automatically do it. We don't think about why we do it. And we have some kind of hidden rules that if you learn it as a second language, people probably didn't learn it like that. Yeah. Okay. So Tanya, Nick, Zhenya, Pasha, so you have met foreigners, and what are some strange things or funny things that you can remember that maybe mistakes in Russian, some things that foreigners do or say? Tanya, I think you have a bunch of stories because you met a lot of the teachers who came and worked with us.
Да, ну, первая мысль, которая приходит на русском или на английском?
Sunny, do you understand? Sorry, Jordy, do you understand what she just said?
The first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, I understand some of it. I'm still learning. It's
Okay, I can say it in English, no problem.
okay.
Yeah, like, I mean, the first thing that came up to my mind was about сосиски. You probably, Chris, remember this story?
Yeah.
It's just like one of our friends. It was his like, I know, first year, even like first month of being in Russia. And he made a list of grocery list. And so like, I mean, some of them was easy, you know, like you can see how bread look like and like milk, you know, it's like cows anyway. And then he was trying to find sosiski, sausages, but he couldn't. So he decided to ask really like, let's say, big old woman who works there. And he asked it in Russian. And he asked like, где
No.
сосиски?
He was trying to do it like in
Покажите мне
English.
сиськи.
Покажите.
Да, покажите сосиски, как-то так. So it was kind of like, can you show me sausages? And
He said, can you show me your sausages?
Yeah, can you show me your sausages, right? And so it was in Russian. And she became like red and like what he repeated again. And then like he understood something was wrong, so he ran away. And only like at home when he started like to see what happened. So if you spell сосиски, Chris, can you do it in the chat?
Yeah.
And if you remove the first two letters, then it will be absolutely different word, which like siski. And this is what he said. And this is like what, boobs.
Tits.
So
Yeah.
he asked.
So if you don't
like,
say s at the beginning and you just say siski, then that means tits. So he came in there and he asked the old woman to show her tits instead of show the sausages.
Right, like it's really like the first thing. I mean, also there's another story, but I mean, it's your Chris story about chicken.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Again, about like food, and I know like you can go ahead and tell it's like from the first.
Yeah. But also something interesting. So, you know, I don't, everyone who's here, I hope who's watching, I hope is an adult. I know on the call right now, it looks like everyone's an adult, but on YouTube, if you're not an adult, just cover your ears real quick. So, yeah, so the word siski, which means tits, is also used instead of cheese in English when you're taking a picture. So you go to take a picture, and in a lot of situations, a person will say siski, and it means smile for the camera.
What?
Like, yeah.
Yeah, but again, it's kind of like when it's adults party, not like at a family time. I mean, of course, it's like if it's adult family and like you kind of like making jokes and everybody's drunk when possible. But usually, yeah, like it's the kids around, you're not going to say this. You usually say like smile or like cheese, also like something like this.
Zhenya, your parents didn't say this to you when you were taking pictures? Твои родители так не говорили, когда вы фотографировались?
Я вроде говорили, да. Вроде бы, да.
Родители говорили?
Чиз? Типа?
Нет, сиськи.
Нет. Никогда.
Может, ты просто подавил это воспоминание?
What did you say? Maybe he's repressing those memories?
Yeah.
Okay, that was a good one, Tanya. Pasha,
yeah.
Zhenya, do you have any examples?
I don't have such a funny example. I actually haven't communicated a lot with the foreigners who speak Russian, but from what I heard from Chris's Russian, it's interesting about how the names are changed, like склоняются. I don't know what's the term.
Are conjugated.
Conjugated. I thought it was just for verbs. Conjugation.
Yeah, maybe you're right. How they change, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, that's not the point.
Cases. Declined. Cases are about declension. Declined.
Yeah. So how names are declined. So you remember our friend Lilith, and her name is it doesn't change in Russian when it's declined, but you would change it like Lilitom, Lilita. And that's actually an interesting point for Russian learners, because you should always know where the name comes from to decline it properly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. Like, first of all, just the declension of the names from the beginning is difficult for us to learn. And then changing them into different. First of all, the name connected to the сокращенное имя, like the what do you call it? The ласковое имя.
Уменьшительно-ласкательное.
Yeah.
Уменьшительно-ласкательное. But
Yeah.
for names, we would just say короткое имя.
Ну, короткое, да.
So Jordy, maybe you haven't come into contact with this yet, but like almost every name in Russian has like a full form and a short form. And so automatically every person who has the long form name also has all of the short form names. And so, for example, this can be especially confusing for a person from the States who just happens to have the same name as a common Russian name, like Natasha or Alexander, for example. Because every Alexander in Russia is also Sasha.
Yeah, I've actually I've dove in pretty deep, so I've seen quite a bit of that, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And so like there's a bunch of variations of each name. Like Sasha can also be Sashka, Sashinka, Sashulia,
Санек, Шурик.
Sanyok, Shurik. So like all of these could be Alexander. I remember the first Russians I met in the States. They were meeting my American friends, and the one guy's name was Alexander. He goes to my first American friend, says, "Hello, I'm Alexander." And then he goes to the next American friend, says, "Hello, I'm Sasha." And the first American guy says, "You're not Sasha, you're Alexander." Because we typically only, use like a full name and then a nickname. And like for example, for my name, it works that like Christopher and Chris. But Chris is like a chosen nickname, right? It's not an automatic name from Christopher. Whereas like other people who are like, other people might not choose to have this, might not choose to be called Chris, right? In English, for example.
There's also people whose full name is just Chris.
Yeah.
There's no Christopher anywhere in any document.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people.
Like,
I think a lot of people from Russia who meet Chris think that it's Christian, not Christopher.
Yeah. A lot of people would say Christian to me, and I'm like, who are you talking to? Like, yeah, that was
almost like the name Veronica,
exactly.
Vera or Nika.
Yeah.
Chris, do you have any good stories with the police?
Good stories.
Like, we ever checked at any checkpoint and had a funny story about it?
Let's see. In the beginning.
Вытрезвитель?
What?
Have been to вытрезвитель?
Вытрезвитель, я не знаю, что это.
Трезвитель. Like, that's what do you call it? The drunk tank? Like the room where they put you to get sober?
Понятно. Но я не был, но я был, как, офицер остановил меня рядом с Большой театром.
Почему?
So I was crossing the street and it was like very, very snowy. This is like last January in the middle of Moscow. And I was trying to get to a language meetup, and I was late, so I was kind of rushing. So I crossed the street on a red light, and the officer stopped me and he said, "Здесь в Москве мы не проходим на красный свет."
Uh-huh. I got stopped for jaywalking too.
What
Yeah.
happened in
Like,
your
get a
case?
ticket?
Yeah, I got a ticket in my case. Did you get a ticket?
No, and I'll tell you why. And here's my advice for anyone going to Russia, any foreigners. I started talking to him about Soviet movies because he was asking me. He was like, он сказал, откуда вы? Where are you from? Я ответил, к сожалению, США, unfortunately, US. Он сказал, дайте мне паспорт. Я показал, and then he said, "Oh, your Russian's pretty good. Like, where did you learn?" I said, "Я пересмотрел Кавказскую пленницу," which is this like very, very famous movie that every Russian in Russia, every Russian everywhere has seen. They watch it all the time. They love it. So if you watch like 4 or 5 of the Soviet movies and know the name of like one actor or just know the general plot, and if you get in a bad situation, you just talk about the movies. And every time the Russian person is so happy that you'll get
That's funny.
yourself out of the bad situation.
Oh, you did good.
That's funny.
So
Yeah,
how much is the ticket normally worth? How much is the ticket?
How much? Oh, okay. Yeah, I got the ticket, so I can say that, right? It was like $3 or less.
That's it?
Yeah.
And also, if you pay for during the first, I believe, 30 days or 15 days, you got a 50% discount.
Whoa, love it.
But also, one of my friends there told me another strategy on tickets. He said, if you don't pay it for like 3 years, then it goes away. Something like this. And so I didn't pay it and nothing happened. I just said that it was my souvenir.
Oh, wow. So either
Um,
tell a Russian story about watching a movie or just don't pay the ticket.
I mean, I
Oh,
would.
and all the movies are free on YouTube, by the way, too.
Oh, wow. Когда
But
я
yeah,
была
just like in.
Мгм.
Не, продолжай.
Я была в России уже 25 лет назад. И когда я была там, у меня есть рассказ. Can everybody understand me?
Я понимаю.
Okay,
Я тоже
fine.
понимаю.
Oh, wonderful. У меня есть рассказ. Когда мы были студентками там, кто-то, не знаю, точно, we were robbed.
Really?
So-
Ограбили тебя?
Yeah, we were students and we lived in Tveri, which is three часа около Москвы. Maybe our Russian Tanya maybe knows where Tver used to be Kalinin.
Тверь, если честно, не помню, чтобы у него было какое-то другое название.
Okay.
Но возможно. Как бы я
Okay.
просто не
Yeah,
знаю.
we used to live in Tver, and I went for a birthday party, and I left like real gold on my refrigerator, and I was like, oh, when I get back, I'll deal with it. And at the time, it was still communist. It was under the old Soviet Union. And so we celebrated my birthday. We came back, we were robbed.
Wow. And then the next day you walk down the street and there's a guy, Zolta, часы.
Yeah, exactly. And gold was so cheap back then. And so we got in touch with the security at the hotel, and we actually lived in a hotel for our общежитие, for our dormitory.
Общежитие.
And, when we contacted the police, they told us we were 2 American girls there, and they told us laws are not for foreigners, and so they wouldn't investigate.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was our police story. And we never did get back anything. But thank God I had my passport. We had our passports on us. But our
yeah.
rooms were also bugged too at the time. Yeah.
Wow. It sounds
Yeah,
like,
we're still communists.
you know, the longer I'm involved with Russia and Russian people, and like I go back to, I haven't been back to Russia in a year or so now, but like it just things change so fast. It feels to me like things change very quickly.
Totally different country.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
so whatever you see now, 5 years from now, it's going to be totally different.
yeah. But for the people who have lived there all their lives, Nick, Zhenya, Pasha, Tanya, what do you think about that? Does Russia just change very quickly, or how do you see it? Because you lived through all of this. So for you, maybe it was just like, oh, this is just how it always is. I don't know. What's your opinion?
Не, ну какие-то что, конечно, естественно, меняется. Я не знаю, например, новые постройки, новые какие-то заведения, не знаю, цены. Еще, то есть, естественно, да, что-то... Я просто сейчас не могу в каком-то конкретном примере подумать. Ну, наверное, я говорю, первое, что, я не знаю, новые здания, новые дома особенно. Ну, я думаю, это, наверное, естественно, больше видно, когда ты уезжаешь на какое-то время, и ты не жил там. Потому что, например, даже с тобой пример, когда ты последний раз там пару лет приезжал, я говорю, ой, давай встретимся вот в том-то кафе. Ты такой, говори мне адрес, я здесь был давно, я не помню. То есть много уже нового, что открылось. То есть, ну, какие-то такие вот, естественно, это, ну, случается. Особенно, если ты не живешь какое-то время.
Yeah. So, Jordy, so basically she said that, you know, buildings change, prices change, but you don't really notice a lot of the changes unless you leave and then you come back. And she gave the example of me, like, only coming back once a year. And then she says, like, meet me at this cafe. I'm like, just give me the address because I haven't been here in a long time, so I don't know that place.
Gotcha. Thank you.
What about the language? Do you feel like your language is changing a lot? Like so many foreign words are being incorporated?
Язык, да, тоже, естественно, меняется. Много, ну, у нас англицизмов. Как это? Англицизм? В общем, когда много слов иностранных.
Англицизм, Таня.
Англицизм, да, правильно, спасибо. Я помню, я чувствовала, что что-то не то говорю. Англицизм. Вот. То есть даже, по-моему, я не буду говорить пример, но мне кажется, где-то недавно относительно читала новость, что какие-то слова, ну, новый словарь внесли. То есть, ну, одно из таких, которое уже давно было из серии кофе, он может быть и средним, и мужским, или что-то такое, ведь йогурт, тоже, по-моему, что-то было, не помню, ну, в общем, это из таких, ну, относительно далеких, но и свежих. То есть раньше было определенное правило, со временем оно сейчас меняется. То есть ты кофе в теории можешь говорить и он, и оно.
So, yeah. So okay. So let me just recap that just to make sure everyone is on the same page. So yes. So Tanya was saying that, you know, it's hard to give a specific example, but sometimes she sees there's some kind of news or update about like the rules of a word has changed. For example, I think I was there at this, I don't remember what year it was, but the word coffee. So they said that coffee can be neuter or masculine. And I saw Pasha shaking his head. Pasha, I know that you have a lot of emotions on this topic, so maybe you can share your opinion about this.
Yeah, I'm more of a prescriptivism guy when it comes to languages. Yeah, so for those who don't know, the word coffee, it sounds like it's a neuter word, средний род, but it always used to be masculine. You should say вкусный кофе, горячий кофе, а не вкусное горячее кофе. but like a couple of years ago, they actually legitimized this use of the word in neuter as a neuter word, because that's how a lot of people do it.
So
that's not okay in my book.
So this brings up this just brings up one other example. Sometimes it was really confusing for me, things like this, like how do I know if when the word is supposed to be masculine or feminine, when like I can hear that someone uses, for example, an adjective as a noun, right? Sometimes we do this. We say, like we'll use an adjective and we won't say the noun. And so sometimes it was confusing, and sometimes there's a noun and you say like, okay, well, this noun is masculine or feminine because it's this type of thing, and that thing is always feminine, or that thing is always masculine. And that happened to me a few times where a person explained it to me like that. And so with coffee, someone explained it to me in the way they said, well, coffee can be neuter because rastenia, a plant. Rastenia is neuter. And if coffee is a plant, rastenia, coffee, neuter, ano. But if coffee is a drink, it's napitak. Napitak is masculine. So coffee, like napitak, on, masculine.
That's bullshit. It doesn't work. It's just a way some people kind of trying to put some ground on the mistakes that they make in their speech, and they don't want to, when they don't want to correct themselves and learn how to use it properly.
So in your book, it's always neuter or it's always masculine?
It's always masculine.
Uh-huh.
But, well, yeah, of course, since now they officially made it both neuter and masculine, so okay, so now I don't have a ground to say that someone's saying it wrong, but it's still wrong to say that, oh, it's a plant, so it's neutral, it's neuter, it's a drink, so it's masculine. It doesn't work this way.
So as I'm understanding now, the West is not the only one who has problems with gender identity.
I remember looking up that word specifically because I was so confused by all the rules, and Google actually told me what you guys are saying, that it's both. So that was good.
Nice. Yeah, so there was a question about like anglicized words, right? That there's words from English that are put into Russian and then used in a Russian way, but still using the English word. For example, one of my favorite ones, or the one that made me laugh a lot, was like to check in. Like someone would go to a place and then check in that they were there. And my Russian friends would be like, "Я зачекинулся." And so they just took check in, like an English word, and then made it a Russian verb and then conjugated it as the Russian verb. And I think that this happens a lot. And so, there's some category of people who are like Russian language purists, maybe I can call them that. And they like will make an effort not to use English words, like to choose Russian words over English words when there's that choice. And then there's like a lot of younger people will use English words as like it's kind of like a slang or for fun. I remember I was teaching a telecom company in Russia, and for fun, one of the people, one guy came into the office, he said, "Доброе утро, как дела?" And the other guy answers, "Beautifulna."
I think it's
Sometimes
more of a
it's
joke. Most people don't say that.
Right.
if you're
But maybe-
if you're talking about like technology, you can kind of guess, and usually you'll get close enough that someone can understand. Like I didn't know the word for click, like this one, like click my mouse.
Kliknut.
I said click a lot,
Uh-huh.
and everybody thought that was very funny. No, все поняли.
Yeah,
So
but
funny.
as I said, like before, like I mean, now we use, for example, crush or cringe. It's like a lot in Russian speech, kind of like a slang, like "эта ситуация кринжовая," something like this.
It's a
Or
cringy
again,
situation.
yeah, or I'm not sure if I can say the F word, but before, like working a lot like with American guys, I kind of like make it уменьшительно-ласкательная форма. It was факушки. Yeah, факушки. Because I mean, I understand like to say, because for me, F word means like nothing, even though like I know English, but it's less emotional connection than, for example, B word in Russian. So that's why I like to say this word. It wasn't like really kind of like bothered me. But I mean, of course, like American, our teachers like Tanya, it's not like good to say like this. So it's why I came up with this word, факушки.
Another example, I guess, is Halloween, right? We just had Halloween. And so for me, it was always interesting why Russian, like, okay, so in Russian, you don't have this short, high A sound of like in cat and in Halloween, right? So usually this sound, when they take an English word and say it in Russian, this sound is changed to eh. And so Halloween becomes Halloween. And so if you see a person from Russia writing the word Halloween, a lot of times they'll make the mistake and put E instead of A, which will actually kind of be more fitting to the to the holiday, right? But yeah, that was just, I noticed that a lot of times. I see we also have Marnios. Hello, Marnios. If you turn your mic on, you can speak with us. Marnios. All right. Yeah. So I don't know. Nick, can you think of any other English words that are commonly used in Russian?
Мне сложно придумать сейчас.
I was thinking of two.
Veronica, what'd you say?
I was thinking of two. Maybe our Russian speakers can correct me, but one was internet, the other one was Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think
But
internet, a lot of people.
Those are actually the like
Latin?
trademark names, so it's strange. Would be strange not to use them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's another one. So, you know, in all languages, sometimes brands or company names become like a standard word. Google, for example, like in English, we can say
Памперсы.
to Google something, and in Russian, it's загуглить.
Oh.
Загуглить.
Есть такая песня Party Maker.
Гуглить? No, загуглить.
Правильно, загуглить.
Загуглять? Nope. It keeps correcting me because it doesn't want to admit that this is a word. Загуглить.
Правильно.
So, like a person asks you a stupid question, and you can say, "Загугли."
Погугли.
Загугли.
Погугли.
Погугли.
Yeah.
Не, можно
Usually it's
погугли. Погугли, загугли. Я оба использую.
I always say загугли.
Погугли. Ну да, не, наверное,
That's because
погугли
you're not
больше.
Russian.
Результат это когда нагуглили.
Гуглили. Когда уже
Actually,
загуглили.
Actually, когда загуглили, it's just a page of results, but when you got what you wanted, then you pogoogled. It's like the
Погуглил и
it's like
нагуглил.
present perfect.
Нагуглил.
I have googled it, but if I just googled it, я загуглил.
And Nikolay said nagooglil. When you
That's-
found the result.
Oh,
When you came upon the Google result. So yeah, so Google's one. Another one is Xerox. So in English we say Xerox, but because in English we have a weird pronunciation rule that if X is at the beginning of the word, we pronounce it like Z. But in Russian they don't do that, so it's X in both places. So it's Xerox. Also diapers, like all diapers, people will call pampersy, like Tanya.
Амперсы. Да, да.
So Pampers, basically.
Oh, does anybody know like a rule for when the Russian word uses the g sound and when they uses the k sound? Like we say Halloween, but if we want to say the like evil dictator of Germany, we say Hitler, and not Hitler. So when do we know when it's k and when it's g, or is it just random?
Most of the G ones come from German, but yeah, I think it's about the country, the language of origin.
Mhm.
Pasha, maybe you can think of some other examples.
Yeah, I think with names, it's usually that H at the beginning transforms to G, like I don't know, Howard, Govard, and so on. But
Harry Potter.
That's my
yeah,
favorite
like
one.
with the names which start with H.
Right.
Because Gary in English is a completely different guy. That's why Gary Potter tak smishno.
Uh-huh.
But in Russian, it's also different names like Gary and Gary.
Ah,
mm.
знал об этом.
Yeah, and also, for example, I had a friend named Justin, and in English we have a guy's named Justin and a girl's named Justine, but in Russian they always called Justin Justine.
Mm.
Why?
Also, I mean, just for I think it was easier to pronounce or made more sense like this. Everyone
Couldn't
would
you
call
just
him.
say Justin?
And for me, for example, Chris is usually the short name from the name Christina. So when people call me Chris, it's kind of strange because they're saying a man, like speaking to a man, but usually this is a girl's name. Let's see what else. Yeah,
At some point we should play, maybe not in this stream, but we should play a game sometime where Chris and I will find really hard English words to pronounce. You guys can find really hard Russian words to pronounce, and we can battle.
Let's see. Maybe there are some other. I see Marneos is with us. Hi, Marneos. Marneos, it looks like you have your mic on. No? Let's see. Pasha just wrote a difficult word for you to pronounce there.
Okay, I'll try to get it right in the first go. На конца сложно. Защищающийся. Okay, Chris, you try.
I think Zhenya's recording it right now. He's going to show it to his friends later. Be like, oh, look at these Americans trying to pronounce the.
How do you guys actually use the keyboard? I can't write in Russian.
Oh, I just made a video about this and posted it on the channel. You can add it to your phone or your computer. Yeah.
Okay, I just found out about you guys like 1 minute before I typed. Google recommended it.
Nice.
Try this word.
Yeah.
Хорошо загуглили.
You can also use the Google Translate and like the web version, and they have like a screen keyboard that you can bring up in Russian and use that if you don't want to install anything.
Oh, on Google Translate, you can actually see a Cyrillic keyboard. Okay.
Yeah, on the web desktop version.
All right. Thank you.
The desktop version, but okay.
Yeah, I've been looking for a long time.
So Tanya wrote another word, жизнерадостный.
Радостный. That's a long word.
Life happy. Or what? Filled with life? Life joyous?
Like joyful.
Joyful, yeah.
Joyful.
Жизнерадостный.
Lively?
Is it lively is like very active, right? But joyful is more like about the happiness side.
Радость.
Adopted sister at the to protect this planet I call my home from anyone that means to cause it harm.
Uh-oh.
And Supergirl.
Supergirl's here with us too.
On Super.
Is it a movie or what?
Super девочка. Oh, Marnie is
Veronica.
with us.
Veronica, you can buy these little stickers. I got them on Etsy for like $3.
Oh,
Stick them right on your keyboard, and now I have a Russian keyboard. It's awesome.
and then do you turn on the feature for Cyrillic?
Yeah, you can download a little like desktop add-on where you just do Control Alt and it switches between Latin and Cyrillic letters.
Oh, I like that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're
I
welcome.
got the stickers, but I didn't know what to do with them. I got them a month ago.
It
Now I
is
can write
strange
in
for us
it.
Russian to meet people who never have to switch between layouts on their keyboards, because that's something that we in Russia do
Yeah.
from birth.
Mm.
I don't think Russians understand too how strange it is for Americans to work with two alphabets. Because like even when you guys were young, you would see English letters like here and there. Maybe you didn't know how to pronounce them correctly, but like from birth you saw them. Me stepping into Russia and seeing like signs in Cyrillic and instructions in Cyrillic, like I could handle it, but it was a little bit overwhelming at first.
Mhm.
Can you handle cursive?
Могу читать чуть-чуть, не могу писать.
Я тоже не могу писать.
No,
No, I can't write cursive.
я могу писать. Немножко.
This is my Russian writing. It probably looks like a child, right?
But remember, all over the world, they stopped teaching cursive about 10 years ago, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Including America.
Yeah, Sonny, I write in Russian like that with all of the like
Yeah.
the capital like the normal letters, not cursive.
Печатными буквами.
Печатными,
Sunny, don't forget to use hyphen in the word в общем-то.
Oh. Now, do you guys use the accent marks when you write?
No.
Oh.
No. And like
Udarinho.
the letter, for example, the letter yo, a lot of times people won't write with the two dots with the umlaut on top.
Mm.
And so sometimes, so like for people who are just learning, it might be difficult to understand that like this is yo, not yeah.
Okay. But yo,
What do you call the dots in Russian? Or you might not even have a name for them, right?
With the letter yo, there's no name for them because they're just
Right,
a
a
part
different
of the
letter.
letter.
Hmm.
So
Right.
technically,
Part
it's
of the
not
letter.
an umlaut, it's not a diaresis, it's
Right.
not anything.
mm-hmm.
Right. And that's also an interesting thing too. Like when you transcribe Russian to English, then like the letter ya, and you write it with two letters in English, Y-A, then like when speaking with some Russian people who are learning English, sometimes it was difficult for them to like understand that, okay, maybe in Russian it's one letter, but in English it's two letters. And so this could be a source of confusion both ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's
And
see.
usually when you capitalize an English letter, the letter changes and it becomes straighter. Like it becomes more angular. If the round one is the small one, and then it gets larger and more angular. But in Russian, it's just a smaller version, and they're always angular. So it kind of looks like it's shouting.
That's true.
Interesting. Cool. Well, yeah, guys, any other questions here? I mean, I see that we have some questions on YouTube, and I actually had to block someone today, so I think it was a success. So
no Slava.
Is anyone in this chat right now in Russia?
Nick is.
Oh, wow.
It's so
Nice.
strange to be in Russia in 2022, right?
Oh yeah, I agree.
Tanya,
Nick-
where are you located right now?
I'm in Lisbon right now.
In Lisbon, Portugal?
See.
Oh, she said C. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
That means you speak Portuguese also, huh?
I started I speak a little bit Spanish, and on Monday I will have my first class of Portuguese, the real one. So
Nice.
I hope it will be easier for me to communicate here.
Nice.
Is it like close to Spanish?
Yeah, they have similar, some even like words, but pronunciation is really like it's more shh
And what
sound.
about
So it's
grammar? Is it more complicated?
grammar, yeah, it's like no, it's the same like Spanish. They also have, for example, in English it's to be, and in Spanish and Portuguese they have two, sir and estar. One of them permanent, one of them temporarily. I mean, it's difficult. And it's Russian actually, like now class. But actually Spanish and Portuguese in some way remind me Russian language. That's why for me it was so complicated actually, and you guys are super awesome that you're learning and you can speak Russian, because Spanish somehow reminds me about Russian language. We, like in Spanish, they also have feminine and like masculine, and they also like need to change the verbs. Like in English, it's super easy. I mean, before I thought English was difficult language to learn, but after I started to learn Spanish and now Portuguese, I kind of like can understand what you guys doing with Russian.
What you're going through.
Yeah. And also, guys, it was nice to meet you, but my phone is almost going to die, and I need to go home to find a way to go home. So, большое спасибо, и было приятно со всеми познакомиться, со всеми поговорить, и, в общем, надеюсь, еще увидимся.
Obrigado.
Спасибо.
Obrigado. De nada. Пока-пока. Хорошего всем дня, вечера, смотря в какой вы часовой зоне.
This is my favorite one. What is it? Хорошего
Доброго
времени
времени
дня.
суток.
Yeah. This one. Can you say that? Can you write that again? Can you write it in the chat?
Yeah?
So like, bye, Tanya. Thanks.
Okay. Пока-пока.
Hi, Tanya.
Yeah. So you guys know how you can say like хорошего дня, good day, like have a good day. But like Pasha just wrote in the chat, доброго времени суток, like good time of day. So you don't even have to say good morning, good evening, good night. You can just say good time of day. This is useful online when you're speaking with people in different time zones.
But this expression, it actually like it was criticized by the linguists because actually you would have to say like доброе время суток, like добрый день, добрый вечер. But we usually say доброго дня when we say goodbye to someone. Like you met someone, you had a conversation, then you say like доброго дня, доброй ночи, or something like that. And that's why this доброго времени суток kind of fell out of what's the expression?
Fell out of favor with the
yeah,
linguist.
with the linguists.
Okay. Thank you for that info.
So Tanya brought up a good point about the verb to be, right? Like in English, it's really important to say it. However, in some like dialects, accents, subculture groups, you can leave out the verb to be and still make sense of things, right? Like, or not even that, like everyone in English, in some cases, we might leave out the verb to be and it still makes sense. Where, like, think about the last time you're on the phone. Hello, you here? Like, you can leave out, are you here? Right? And you can just say, you here? And with question intonation, and the person will understand that you asked, are you here? And we left out the verb to be. And there's a lot of other examples like how you doing? How are you doing? We left out are. How you doing? Right? So like the verb to be is a strange thing in a lot of languages. And so in Russian, in present tense, usually you leave out the verb to be. Like you can say, я здесь, right? Like without the verb to be, I am here. And this can be really confusing if you don't know that ahead of time, because you're trying to put the ideas together and you don't know that you need to add the verb to be. Sorry?
Доброго времени суток.
Добро пожаловать в наш live. Live, another anglicized word.
Well, I like the way you put that, because that's a great way of
Доброго времени суток.
That's a great way of teaching someone who can't get the be, is, are, am out of their mind. So like if you think of it as, you know, how you doing? You know, the way you put that, that's actually pretty good of teaching that to an American student about Russian. So you would say, like, you know, instead of the slang way of saying how you doing, instead of how are you, think of it with Russian, you're going to get rid of the R. How you doing? How dela?
And but like Pasha said earlier, you can just say как ты.
Yeah, I like that.
How are you? But leave out the verb to be, because you don't have to say the verb to be, right? But that's the other thing about the verb to be in Russian. Like, you leave it out a lot in the present tense, but sometimes you want to say it, and sometimes you need to say it, and some phrases use it. And so there's like, there's a few different ways that you can say the verb to be, right? We have есть, we have быть, and we have являться.
Является is like существует, да?
Right, but it can also be to be, basically.
I think есть is just present form of быть.
Yeah, but a lot of books teach it as like a separate thing because they don't want people to be confused later with у меня есть. Like I have. Right? У меня есть. I have.
I guess существует is also that, because exist and be are the same thing, right?
Right. So существовать is more like the exist. Right. Right. And являться, maybe, например, Pasha является администратором этого собрания. It means Pasha is the administrator of this meeting. right? Like он является администратором, and we use the творительный падеж. We use the instrumental case, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
Я являюсь мужчиной.
Is it like I'm acting in the role as, or I'm fulfilling the role of?
Yeah, it's like I am a man, right?
I like that. I never used that before. I like it.
Я тут являюсь боссом. I'm the boss here. Which
How
is,
often is является used?
Yeah, often I'd say.
I mean, I think typically, I think in most expressions, people just don't use the verb to be. It's just
They don't
the
like
thing. The thing is equal to the thing. Like, я рад. I'm glad. I'm happy.
Mm-hmm.
Я рад. Я тут. Я мужчина.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a man.
Она там.
Она там. She's there.
Mm-hmm.
And есть. You can also use есть, but sometimes it will be kind of like funny. It'll be like, it'll sound kind of like logical, like that's already logical. Like for example, what is it? Есть как есть. I don't know. It is how it is. Like what else? Like небо есть. But the sky is, like, there is a sky, right? Like or someone could say like Бог есть.
В этом контексте небо это heaven, да?
Небо, the sky.
Небо это sky, это тоже heaven, да?
Heaven.
Heaven sky. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's also the word небеса, which is like the heavens.
Mm.
You'll hear this a lot in like in songs.
Можно пишется, пожалуйста.
Небеса. I might be making a mistake here. Pasha, is this?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think in the phrase like Бог есть actually means exists.
Right.
So you can say that in English also. It's not too logical.
I'm trying to think of, there's sometimes I hear people talking and they'll use есть and someone will be like, of course that is.
Didn't Nikolay send that to chat? Что есть, то есть.
Что есть, то есть. That which is.
If you're in a church and you're talking about heaven, would you say небеса? Like in a religious context, how do you say the word heaven? Is it небо?
Рай.
Oh, рай.
Рай is heaven, like paradise.
Yeah, like where you go after you die is рай.
Рай. Попасть в раю.
Попасть в рай.
That's because of because it's accusative case, right? But if we попасть, no, находиться в раю.
Да.
Okay. Попасть в рай, находиться в раю. So попасть, it's like to make it to, or like to land, or like
To end up in.
But see, that's where I got confused, because in English it'll be about the location, right? End up inside in this place, right? Whereas here it's the movement, попасть в рай, it's about going to. But находиться в раю would be like to be located in, right? Inside the location. I mean, just from the grammatical cases. Let's see. Papaist is a verb of movement on YouTube, they tell me. Yeah. And asking, yes, papaist is a verb of movement. And являться, more like turn out. Оказаться is more like turn out. Оказаться. It turned out to be я хотел пойти на вечеринку, но оказалось как?
Оказалось, это был детская вечеринка, поэтому нету алкоголя.
Uh-huh. So cool. So Sunny, so you used нету. This is another good thing to talk about. So не было алкоголя. Нету is more like the opposite of у меня есть. Like, so you wouldn't usually say.
О, да, хотел сказать, у их нет был алкоголь.
Ага.
Но можно сказать нету, потому что мы говорим о хозяин, да? Или нет?
Like it's just not, no more, nothing.
I wanted to say like they didn't have alcohol at the party.
Не было.
Еще не было?
У них не было. У них нету сейчас.
Okay.
Like if you
It's only
ask,
for present tense.
Yeah, it's for the present tense only. Yeah.
like if you ask for something, the quickest way they'll say is nieto. Nothing. Like when you say to the kids, all gone. Nieto.
Yeah. So it's like it's about ownership or possession. It's about possession of something, right? So like у меня есть маркер, and теперь нету маркера.
Нету маркер А, да? А на конце.
Because when we talk about the absence of something, it's like the genitive case.
But would you say the noun first and then nieto?
You can say both ways.
Okay.
Chris, how did you learn all the right verbs to use dative case with? Was this just something that you learned from constant usage, or did you study a list?
I don't know all of them. I make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the beginning, when I was learning, I read that book, like 501 Russian verbs or something. Like,
yeah.
And it had like all the different cases and tenses of and that maybe that didn't help so much, but yeah, I mean, it was mostly just like speaking with people and then
noticing,
like, trying to catch the meaning of what that was actually saying. Like once you break it down, like once you compare it to English, it becomes super easy to understand dative case. Of course, yeah, there are some special verbs where you have to remember which ones. But like, so we have accusative case, which is very like almost exactly the same as the direct object in English grammar. And then you have the dative case, which is almost exactly the same as the indirect object in English grammar. So like in the English phrase, I gave the ball to the dog, the action moves from the subject, the action is give, I gave, the verb, to the direct object, the ball. The action moves from the subject to the direct object, and then to the indirect object, the dog, right? To the dog. So the same would be in Russian, I gave what to who or to whom. And so, right, я отдал мячик собаке. And so if we change it around, я дал собаку мячку, or what? Then it would be
the
very
dog
strange.
to the ball.
I gave the dog to the ball. Yeah. So like yeah, you could like making a mistake with the case could end up that you said something very confusing like that, right?
There's a phrase in Russian like "велосипед переехал трамвай."
The bike passed the bus.
No, the bike ran over the bus.
Ran over, переехать.
Yeah, but like in this case, you know that like велосипед переехал автобус. Пусть будет велосипед переехал автобус. Because you know that a bike cannot run over a bus, you know that it's the other way around. The bus ran over the bike. But
that would be hard because nothing changed. Everything was masculine.
Right.
Yeah, that's a problem because like velocipede and автобус, they both have the same form in the accusative case.
Right.
That's a tricky part. But if it's something living like собака, then the accusative case would be different. Собака, собаку.
Вот
Right.
ты меня помогаешь. В этом примере это по-другому. Because in Russian you say literally it's I help for you. Да? But in English we say I help you.
Dative, right. That's why a lot of times you'll hear Russian people in English make the mistake, I want to help to you.
Yeah.
Or for you.
Where in
But
English, we don't use the dative case because we don't have the to or the for before the person we're helping.
But be careful about that. Like, it's not always like that because
Да, я просто хотел объяснить, это не, it's not a one-for-one transaction.
I mean, it could still be dative. I mean, in English, like it could still be indirect object. The position in the sentence might change it. For my example was, I gave the ball to the dog, and because the direct object is before the indirect object, we must use to the dog. But if we switch the place, if we put the indirect object before the direct object, then we don't have to use a preposition. I gave the dog the ball.
Oh, да.
I gave the dog the ball, and this is okay because the indirect object came first in the sentence, right? So like we don't always show it with a preposition, like to or for. That's what I'm saying.
Another interesting verb is спрашивать или спрашивай? Спрашивать, да?
Спрашивать.
Спросить. Я спросил у тебя. Is that how you say it?
Спрошу.
Я спрошу у тебя. It's like I ask of you, which we actually do say in English, but it sounds very formal.
У тебя, but is it asked of you or it's like I asked?
I thought it was
all I ask of you is your help. Можно так сказать. You can say it, it's very formal sounding.
Pasha, do you want to weigh in here?
I don't understand what's going on.
We're trying.
По-английски. Like in English, we would say, I ask of you only your help, or ask of you only your friendship, not your money. You can say it. It makes grammatical sense. And I think we might have said it more hundreds of years ago. And it's similar to the Russian structure. Я спросил у ее, I asked of him, да? Или нет?
If we're talking about I ask of you something, that would be я прошу, not спрошу.
Right.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Просить.
Now, would you be saying prashu? Wouldn't prashu would mean I asked you of something to do, right? And sprashu is just an inquiry. I asked you what the weather is.
Exactly.
I asked you what time it is.
Yep. And
И
просить.
Просить.
Yeah, and prasit means I asked you to go to the store. Do me a favor.
Yeah, like спросить is to ask a question, and просить is to
make a request.
To
make a request, yeah. And also about questions, you can also задать вопрос.
Now, but I thought the question was "u tibia," meaning of you. Would "u" ever be used of the person? I asked of him, or would you just say "ya prashu yevo"? Ya yevo prashu. Or would you ever say "ya prashu u yevo"?
У него, within. У него.
У него. У него.
Прошу у него, прошу у него.
I asked of him. Now, would that "u" ever be used in prashu or sprashu?
Can you give a more
concrete example?
Yeah, like I ask of him what?
Like let's say one said, "Ya yas sprashu yas sprashu у него как какая погода? Какая погода?
Спросил у него.
No, спросил. Because it's just what's the weather, not to do something because the weather is, but like я спрошу его какая погода. Я спросила его какая погода. Or do you say у него, meaning of him? I asked of him, and then я спросила у него напиши мне, когда свободное время.
Pasha, did you get that?
Yeah, I'm gonna send something to the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, so like either, does the word "u" ever come into play? Does the word "u" ever get used with "u niveau"? Or is it just niveau, его? Я спрошу его, делать кто-то.
Okay, it looks like Pasha is giving us an answer in the chat that's going to be easy to understand. So, so that's the difference between sprosit and prosit. Make a request.
When you ask a question, you can use it the both way. Я спросила его, какая погода, or я спросила у него, какая погода. In the second one, you like you give a little bit more accent on that you ask exactly him, not someone else.
Right, and also it could be like, for example, Pasha, correct me if I'm wrong, but like, я спросила его, какая погода в Мадриде. For example, like he can get the information and share this information with me, but я спросила у него, какая погода. This is probably in the place where he is located. У него какая погода? No?
No, you actually can use it. You can use both forms in both situations.
Mm-hmm. And on YouTube, Masha says, спросил что-то, но попросил о чем-то.
Yeah, it's like спросить and попросить. Like in my last text in the chat, я просила его мне помочь. I asked him to help me. It's not about the question. It's about like a favor or interest. And here you can say просила and попросила. So like it's the difference of kind of like perfect form or something.
Right.
Like I just asked him to help me, or I have asked him to help me.
Okay. And Pasha, could you use "u" with both situations?
Use what?
У.
Who?
У него.
У него. No, in the last one with the inquiry, you can't say у него. You
Okay.
just просила его.
Okay, so never with Prasila. Okay.
Yeah.
This is also a cool thing, like у него, у меня, у тебя. This structure, you don't always have to say есть. And also, like, it's a good way of repeating information back. Like someone might ask you, Крис, как у тебя дела? Хорошо, у тебя как? У тебя как? So you have, like, what's up with you, right? Like, so you can like reverse the question back to someone just by being like, у тебя как?
А у тебя?
А у тебя? And you?
I like that.
Huh?
Крис, мне пора. Спасибо большое. Всем
Ага.
пока.
Спасибо, что присоединился. Okay, yeah, I think for everyone, it's probably, we've been going for almost 2 hours. It was fun.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, we'll try to do this again. And I'll make an announcement about it and we'll try to figure out the best time for everybody. And yeah, if you have any questions, anybody who watched, who wants to join in next time, feel free to leave a comment. And yeah, Jordy, did you want to ask anything else before we head out?
I left a question up in the meeting chat about the best way to figure out unruly verb conjugations. Is there a list or?
Where, sorry, what was
It's
it
all,
again?
basically all the way at the top
All the way
of the
to-
meeting.
Okay, best way to figure out unruly verb conjugate, the verbs that don't follow the conjugation rules. Okay, irregular verb conjugations. Yeah. So let's see. What are some of the irregular verb conjugations?
Berit. Vazmit. Berit.
Верить, верить,
Claro.
believe, верю, веришь.
Palagi.
Is it just something you pick up over time?
Брать имеется в виду.
Брать. Беру, берешь. I'm trying to think of some examples. I mean, like the verb to be is kind of like this, but okay. What are some other Jordy, do you have some examples of these? Maybe there were specific ones that you are thinking of.
Not off the top of my head right now, but it's one of those things that I'm trying to pinpoint and figure out myself. Is it just something you kind of pick up over time, speaking to people?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what irregular verbs.
They're probably normal sounding to you now, right?
Okay, so for example, et. I think verbs of motion are kind of hard, like nisti, et, like nisti, to carry something, and visti. So nisti, nashu, and nosish. So this is an irregular verb. I think that most of these fall into the category of verbs of motion. And so most like Russian teaching books and courses will separate this to its own like lesson or series of lessons. And it's good to study it separately because maybe you've noticed that most Russian verbs have the like perfective form and imperfective. So it's like what we were talking about before, like
You know, if there's like one direction and then multi-directional.
Yeah. So for verbs of motion, right? So they can have the unidirectional, multi-directional, and then the perfective. So there's like 3 different forms of the verb.
Okay, so those are kind of the major ones that'll be weird.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
So those
Okay.
are all one category. The verb to be is definitely irregular because it works differently. What else? Moch. Be able
Yep,
to.
that's one. Yep.
Могу, можешь. Sorry?
To eat.
To eat. You mean
Like
like
yum?
есть? Ем, ешь. But you can also just use кушать.
But
Or
you
you can
shouldn't.
Or you can use the more slang хавать.
Salad.
It's better to have it than to кушать.
Yeah. Let's see, what else is irregular? Well, okay, yeah, I think this is probably good for today. All of our brains are turning off after 2 hours. But yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. And we'll try to do it again. I'll make an announcement on the channel. We have some new videos coming soon. And yeah, thanks again for everybody for joining, watching. And it was great to meet everybody who showed up today. If you ever have questions, you can contact our team at support@rushintorussian.com. And we also have a course with Olga. You've seen her, or Olya, you've seen her on the channel too. She's a professional teacher of Russian as a foreign language. She couldn't make it today, but she has taught people, for example, who worked in the American consulate in Russia, and has taught some businessmen who are from the UK and from different places who were learning Russian as a foreign language. I usually ask her a lot of my Russian questions when I have them. So in that course, you know, I participate to help give the perspective of the English speaker learning Russian, but her English is really, really good too. So you can learn more about that on our website. And yeah, thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see everybody next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Nice to meet you
Пока.
all.
Всем доброго времени суток.
До следующего раза. До скорого.
Пока-пока. До встретимся.